Kalkadosh, we're going to continue Bezrat Hashem. Wanted to share with you a beautiful idea on Hakarat Tov, which means that we just spoke about previously the concept of appreciating everything that Hashem gives us or appreciating others as well. And now what we're going to speak about is as follows. In the Parashat, it's written, this is going to be not in this week's Parashat, it's in next week's Parashat, but it's also connected to this week's Parashat, as we'll see also. Vayomer Hashem and Moshe. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Emor el Aaron, speak to Aaron, Kach et matecha, and tell him, you have to take your staff. Huntei yadecha al memei Mitzrayim, and he's going to put his hand on the rivers of Mitzrayim. Now the Midrash says Rabbi Tanchum, why is it that the water was not hit through Moshe Rabbeinu? Why is it that the water was hit through Aaron? We know that the ground was hit from Kinim, was hit by Aaron, the water for Makat Dam, for the blood, and the water for Tzifardim, for the frogs. Those three were done by Aaron. 3 were done from Moshe, 3 were done from Aaron. Why were those 3 done by Aaron and not from Moshe Rabbeinu? So answers the Midrash, Rabbi Tanchum, Hamayim sheshamrucha kesholechet leshuslachta leor eno din shilku al yadecha. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, 1 second, if you were saved because of the river, how could you come now and hit the river? You're going to come now and hit the river, hit the water? The water saved you. You were saved. You were placed in a basket and you were saved. So now it's not fitting for you to come and to start hitting the river. Yeah, so therefore it has to be done through Aaron HaKohen. Okay, fine. And the same thing happened in Shemot Rabbah to do with Afar, the Kinim. Why? Because when he killed the Egyptian, where did he hide him? In the ground. So now what? He's going to hit the ground? And now the Kinim, the lice and everything's going to come out? It's not fitting. So what happened? Again, it was done through Aaron HaKohen. So the question that we ask ourselves is, we have a few questions. Number one, when he comes and he's using an inanimate object, he's using an object that has no life. Water. Is water living? When was the last time you went to the water? Right? You went to the sea, or you go to a private beach, right? And you go and you kick the water. Did you ever hear the water cry or scream at you? Why are you kicking me? Did you ever hear that? Yeah, it's an inanimate object. It's not living. You're going to go to the ground. Did you ever hear the ground? Imagine you're stepping on someone. Hey! Looking around, there's nobody around. It's the ground. The ground says, you're stepping on me. You just stepped on my nose. You say, well, when was the last time you saw that? It doesn't exist. So he comes and he says, if you're going to come and you're going to use an inanimate object, what? You're not allowed to do that? Why not? Number 2, do they get embarrassed? Do they feel disgraced when you're using them? And not only that, it was a big zechut even. He would have said, Halvai, come hit me. You know, it's Moshe Rabbeinu. Do it. So therefore, those are the questions that were asked. And there's a beautiful Redestro. Listen very carefully. This is a yesod, a fundamental concept in midot. Very fundamental. Listen carefully. And he says like this, Yesod gadol ba'avodat Hashem, a very important fundamental concept in the service of Hashem. Kol midot nefesh, any midah, any attribute or characteristics that we have, mushpaot v'niflaot al yidei hergesh, velo rak al yidei sechel. They are influenced also by our feelings and not only by our minds. Which means to say that with midot adam, they're also in our feelings. And therefore, look how much there is, even a hakarat tov, recognizing the good in an inanimate object. Because even though your mind knows that nothing's going to happen, if I'm going to go now and I was saved by the water, imagine chas v'shalom nomi, somebody else was starting to drown, right? And all of a sudden what happened was the wave came and boom, it brought him to shore. He should kiss the waves if he could ever get it. But he should kiss it. But now what? If he's going to start kicking it, something's going to happen. He knows, he's got a brain. The brain tells you nothing's going to happen. Imagine somebody falls down and instead of hitting the cement, it was like a soft sand. So it saved him. But now what? If he kicks it, he doesn't, there's no feelings. There's brain. But no. It also depends upon the regashot, the feelings, the sentimental feelings that a person has. So he says, even though in your brain there's nothing there, but at the end of the day, it has an effect on you, on your midot as well. And therefore he says, because this yeor now, which this river became a kli, a utensil for Avodat Hashem, and therefore because of the regesh, if you're going to come and you're going to do something negative to the river, what happens is you became a kafui tova. You became an ingrate. You became somebody that does not recognize the good that people do for you. So says Redestro something incredible. The mind knows what you're doing, but your feelings sometimes has a bigger effect than what your mind is doing, right? Because you have your entire body into it, which is something incredible. So here we see, right, that it says over here, and this is also by the chinuch, and we're going to mention something very, very important. The chinuch in mitzvah 33 says, what is the mitzvah of kibud avayim, respecting your parents? He says the shoresh of the mitzvah, the root of the mitzvah, is that it's fitting for a person to do chesed and to recognize the good of somebody that did to them. They shouldn't be an ingrate, somebody that would take it for granted, because that's a very bad midah, it's a very bad characteristic, and it's disgusting in front of Hashem and in front of human beings. So a person has to put in his mind how much his father and his mother, that they were the entire purpose why he's here, and how much they did for him. And then be'emet, it's fitting for him to give them all that kavod also in return. And then he will realize that no matter what he does is never really enough in what he should be doing. Now, why is it so important this? Says the chinuch, because once you recognize how much you have to give to your parents, now you're going to recognize how much you have to give to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the Almighty. Why? He says, because the Gemara actually says, if you recognize the good that your friend does to you, you'll recognize the good that Hashem does to you. And if chas v'shalom, you don't recognize the good that your friend does to you, you won't recognize what Hashem does for you. And therefore, kibud avayim is on which side of the luchot? We know that we have the 10 commandments, the first 5 and the second 5. The first 5 are spiritual. Yeah, I am Hashem your God. Don't have other gods. Don't swear, right? It says, right, don't swear in vain. All of a sudden, what does it have? Kabed et avicha v'timecha is on the first 5. Respect your parents. It's on the wrong side. I would have said it's interpersonal relationships. The second 5 was, don't kill other people, right? Don't commit adultery. Don't steal. That's interpersonal relationships, not the first 5. What's going on? But rather, says the chinuch, no. You know why? Because it's pashut, it's simple. Somebody that respects his parents and he recognizes the good that they do to him, so therefore he's only also going to recognize what he's going to be able to, his obligation towards Hashem. And that's why it's so important for us to understand this. You understand? There's a concept. The Gemara Eruvin actually says, and it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to pass by on food. If food is on the floor, you're not allowed to pass by. Bread, you're not allowed to throw bread. Right? There's a whole inyan on Hamotzi. There was a minhag to throw, but in general, can I just come and throw bread or throw bread in the garbage? Chas v'shalom. You have food. You have to recognize the good. This is food. You know, if you don't have food, you know what it is, the food, what it gives to you, it gives you sustenance, it gives you, and we even find that by who? Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, he sends Yosef to his brothers. What does he send them? Right? He comes and he sends them, Lirot et shlom achicha v'tatzon. I want to know how your brothers are doing and the sheep. Tell me, you're going to put in the same sentence? Imagine right now you have a dog. Yeah, so I'm going to come and I'm going to tell you, listen, do me a favor. Go check how your mother's doing and the dog. What do I care about the dog? Well, your mother's a dog? Well, you're putting them together? Yaakov Avinu understood that even the sheep, they're my livelihood. They bring me parnasah. I also have a karata tov to the sheep. I want to know how they're doing. How are they benefiting? What's going on with them? I want to find out also as well. It's not just on itself. And this is so important because we actually overlook this. The Gemara Baba Kama says, a pit that you drink water from, don't throw in it a stone. By nature, people do not want to recognize the good that people do. You know why? For one reason only. Because it ultimately means I owe you. And people don't like to owe anything to anybody. So therefore, what happens, right? I'm going to drink from a pit. I owe the pit. I have a water fountain. I just drank. I have to thank him. What am I going to do? Take a stone and throw it in the pit. What are you doing? No, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you anything, right? My wife was telling me that she heard in a shiur recently, that something incredible. They say that when you want to ask somebody for a favor, you have to be very careful how you ask for a favor. Says why? Because sometimes you come and you say, I don't want to bother you, but the word but just minimized that what you're asking for is kilu nothing. As if you're asking them to do nothing. And it's not true. Really, be'emet, in truth, you could be asking them for a huge favor. But I don't want to, but just this. What just this? It's huge. What just? What, but just this? You're asking me for the entire world. What's just but? But no. People by nature, they want to minimize it. You're not really doing me a big favor. Just something small. But no, you should be doing the biggest of all the favors. You understand? Because it's something huge. You know what you're doing? You have to actually recognize it. Because you have to see it, how big it is in your eyes. Yeah? It actually was once brought down. I think it was one of the students of Rav Aaron Cutler. I think it was with Rav Aaron Cutler. That what happened is that his student was with him right after Kippur. And he was very, very weak. So the student started wanting to ask him questions, but he told him, I apologize, he's just too weak. He didn't have the strength to answer. So fine, kept quiet, whatever, and this and that. And then afterwards they come to a certain place, and then he's going to so he went and he called the taxi for his rabbi and the rabbi's wife. And then he went and he put the luggages inside, right, of the car. And then he left. Yeah, he told his rabbi bye and he left. All of a sudden, without anything, he hears somebody screaming his name. He didn't understand what was going on. He turned around. It was his rabbi. So he comes running to his rabbi, and all of a sudden the rabbi was like screaming and everything. And he comes, and the rabbi comes and tells him, thank you so much. You don't understand how bal chesed you are, and that you're so kind, and you're so this and that. At the beginning, the student didn't understand what was going on. He was like, what's the rabbi talking about now? And then he clicked. What, the rabbi is really doing such a big deal that I went and I called the taxi and I went and I put his luggages inside? But he realized he made it feel as if that he did the entire world for him. Because be'emet, that's the feeling that he gave. Because he recognized what it is. He's not going to minimize the favor that the person does. No, but he had to do it anyway. Yeah, but he went specially for you to take you to Sarah Stand to buy a few things. Yeah, no, but he was going anyway. Anyway, they had to go buy it. No, he's doing it for you. No, anyway, what? He didn't have to cook for Shabbat. They invited me over, it's true, but really, be'emet, you know what? His wife and children, they don't need it. What's to add an extra piece of meat? That's such a big deal. No. Says, what's the difference between an oreach tov and an oreach ra? A good guest and a bad guest. You know what the difference is? The good guest says, everything that the balabai did was for me. The bad guest comes and he says, the exact opposite. It's not. Yeah, and the truth is, this outlook is with everything in life. With everything in life. And it's true. Many times people don't realize you could invite people over, and if you don't have any guests, what happens? You take it easy. So this Shabbat, it's a little bit more light. What does that mean? You're not going to go crazy, 18 salads and this and that and that. No. Tranquilo, a little bit, more calm. All of a sudden you have guests. No. This and that and how many courses and how many this. Now the guest is going to come. He's going to say, he did it for himself. He did it for himself. I'm going to bring him on a regular Shabbat. I'm going to show him what I did for myself. Yeah? But they didn't realize it. Why? Because they're not recognizing what's going on. But the opposite. So he says the same outlook, right? Rav Nissim again, Alav Shalom said, the same outlook was with two people. He said there were two different people that they used to come every single day to the makolet, to the supermarket. One person used to come and say, this supermarket, this guy is such a tzaddik. You know that he wakes up, probably he comes at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he starts getting all the trucks ready and everything ready, just so I could have my bread so hot and fresh that when I come out of the Bet Knesset after Shachrit, I'm going to have bread, a good fresh bread for my children, for everything. Look what a nice guy. The guy probably doesn't even sleep. He's always taking care of everything. Perfect. That's one way of looking at it. His neighbor comes and he says, look at this guy. What a rasha. He's becoming filthy rich on our cheshbon. He's picking up the prices. What's the proof? He's opening up another chain store over there and another one over there. Look at this guy, always with our money. Look at the guy. You're going to tell me talking about two different people, no? This guy's talking about one supermarket. The other guy's talking about the exact same person. It depends on their eyes. The person that has a good eye, they're always doing it for me. They're doing the good for me. They're helping me out. The person that doesn't have a good eye, he's doing it for himself. He's helping me out. Nothing here. Nothing in life is for me. Yeah, he's doing it for himself. Nothing for me. That's the difference between a good guest and a bad guest. The Gemara says this is based upon a Gemara Mesechet Berachot Nunchet Amud Aleph. That's the Gemara. So therefore, Kam Chachamim, and they say that in essence, Rabbi Chia, the Gemara in Yevamot says, his wife was causing him a lot of problems. Yeah, just for the tzadikot that are on this, it usually never happens, but once upon a time, once in a while, it does happen that you have one that she's a little bit, okay, so she causes a little bit of problems.
Robbie, you are recording, remember.
Sorry, let me put him pause. Okay. So what happened was, yeah, all of a sudden, right, his students come and they say, Rebbe, what's going on here? Yeah? So he went and he said, right, what's going on? He said, no, it's enough that she's bringing up our children and she's saving us from the sin. That's already enough that I always have to be makir tova. I have to be appreciative to her. Why? She brings up our children in the path of Torah and Yirat Shemayim, and also she saves us from doing sins, going around, putting our eyes on other things. So she saves us. So Kam Chachamim, and they say, one second. There are children and they're not her children. Yeah, that's usually the opposite way around, Usually the wife always asks the husband, can you do this? And the husband says, you know that I did this for him. I did this for you. I did. What? They're only my children. They're only my children. They're not your children. And always the wife throws that at the husband. What? You don't have to take care of them. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Now it's the other way around. Right? What? They're only our children. They're not her children. Obviously, she has to take care of her children. Second of all, how do they save us from sin? How do women save us from sin? It's naturally. It's your wife. What do you want? She's doing something special. Naturally, you have a wife. You have your bread in your basket. So therefore, you're not going to start hunting around. Yeah? But therefore, what does she do? She didn't do anything. But rather, the answer is that even if it's going to be naturally that somebody's doing something for you, you still are obligated in Hakarat HaTov. You still have to come. Because if not, you could say, listen, it's natural. My parents, they want children. They were the ones that brought me in this world. Why would I ever say thank you to my parents? They brought me in this world. They wanted it for themselves. They wanted they should say, look how many children I have. And that I should have a continuation. And that I should have this. You could do that with everything in life. Yeah, you could do that between husband and wife, between parents and children, boss and they. I'm going to have a hakarat hatov to my boss. Well, what hakarat hatov? He needs employees. If not, what? He's going to be working there 24/7. He needs me. So obviously, why do I have to tell him thank you? Yeah, but one second. He's the one that's putting the bread on your table. You're not going to say thank you. You're not going to be appreciative of everything that he's doing. But again, it's all the same concept that even if it's going to be by nature, you still have to say it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Nekom nikma b'nei Yisrael me'et hamidyanim. Go take vengeance against the Midyanim. What does Moshe Rabbeinu do? He comes and he gives it to Pinchas ben Elazar to do. So the Gemara comes and asks the Chazal come and they say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks you to do something, you're going to give it to somebody else to do. What are you doing? But rather, what happened? He says, no. I grew up in Midian. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he ran away from Mitzrayim, where was he? Benot Yitro, where Midian. He grew up there. How could he come and kill out the Midianim? How could he come and do war against the Midianim? It's not befitting of him. He had to do it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, fine, but it's not going to be through him. It has to be through somebody else. So Moshe Rabbeinu understood that the Hakarat HaTov obligates me, that even though Hashem is telling me I have to go and kill out the Midianim, he really means not me, because it cannot be me. It's impossible for me. It has to be somebody else. It has to be. It's impossible, because how could it be me? I'm going to be an ingrate. I'm going to be going against and not being appreciative that they took me in. And that's what happens afterwards also. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he tells him, go to Mitzrayim, what is the first thing Moshe Rabbeinu says? Yitro opened up his door for me. I have to ask him for permission. You have to ask him for permission? What are you asking him for permission? The guy just opened up the door for you. He accepted you in. He wanted to. Why are you asking him for permission? That was Zakarat HaTov. The Karat HaTov exactly was that. So Kam Chachamim, and they say, right, that this chiyuv, this obligation of a Karat HaTov is something which is actually the most important thing that we always have to have. Why is it so important that we have to have? Because in everything in life, right, we always have to understand that this is who makes us. If we are going to have a Karat HaTov, we will be the best in everything. And the reason why is because once we recognize the good that people do for us, we'll be appreciative. We won't take things for granted. We'll be happy with everything that we have, because that's what in essence happens. There was once a story, and we'll conclude with this story, a beautiful story. Listen to this. With Rav Shalom Eisen. He was a big rabbi in Yerushalayim, right, for many, many years. And what happened is that he was sick towards the end of his life, and there were bachurim that used to come and they used to help him out when he was sick. So whenever it used to come that they had a wedding, right, he used to come and he used to go to the wedding, even though he was very, very sick. He used to come and he used to go make sure, and also he had to give a drasha. So he would come and he would even speak at the wedding and say, what a good boy, and look how much chesed, and look at, and mamash, he would do it, and everyone would, wow, big rabbi is coming. That's what they would do. Now, even with that, right, it didn't always, it once happened that by Purim, right, Rav Moshe Feinstein passed away. And on Shushan Purim, right, that's when he was buried. So now this rabbi, he didn't have the strength to go. So his children went and they convinced him, you can't go to the levaya. You can't go to the burial. You can't go to the funeral. Why? He's sick. Okay, so fine. All of a sudden, he didn't go. But then afterwards, he called his son. And he told his son, listen, you should know you have to get for me a minyan, and you have to go to the kever of Moshe Feinstein and ask him for mechila in my name that he didn't go to the levaya. So the son was astonished. The son said, father, papa, Abba, you didn't have the strength. You're honest. You're force majeure. He's completely sick. He's sick in bed. How are you going to go? So he comes and he says like this. Listen carefully. Mitzad the levaya, he was patur. Mitzad the levaya, mitzad the going to the levaya is patur. Even though this was a levaya of a gadol b'Yisrael, we're talking about one of the biggest rabbis, he was still exempt. He didn't have the strength. But when he was in America, right, and he was sick, because he had to go to America when he was sick as well, Rav Moshe Feinstein himself came to visit him. And if so, he owed Rav Moshe Feinstein that how could it be that Rav Moshe Feinstein came to visit him when he was sick and he didn't go to visit Rav Moshe Feinstein when he passed away? So he says, for that hakarat tov, being sick is not an answer. And therefore, you have to go ask for forgiveness. You have to go ask him for forgiveness from his kever with 10 men. Ask him for forgiveness on my behalf. The son, he wasn't able to get out of it until he ascertained his father that that's what he did. And that's exactly what he did. Which means that you see from here, right, that this in itself was so important. And this he learned from his rabbi. His rabbi was Rav Yisrael Zalman Meltzer, was the exact same thing. The concept was that he knew that being hakarat tov is the aleph bet. The aleph bet means you recognize that everyone with everything, being thankful, everything. You understand why? Because you don't understand what it is, the beauty of that when you're going to be thankful of what people are around you, that in itself actually changes the entire world. The last story I'll give you, I already said it once before, but I'll say it again. I heard this story from Rabbi Friend many, many, many years ago, right, in Gibraltar. He came to Gibraltar and he spoke, it was actually, I think, this week's parasha, or around this week's parasha, but he spoke about hakarat tov also as well. And he brought a beautiful story that happened, I think it was Sabrus. Sabrus. It was a pizza shop in Israel. I think it was Sabrus on Ben Yehuda. I think it was Sabrus. I forgot the name exactly. What happened is that there was a person that he had a flight to take. And he wanted to get pizza right before right, running to the airport. So he comes and there's a big lineup. Yeah, so he runs and he starts telling, so he says, he just needs. So he starts and he goes, you know what? What's he gonna do? He can't bud the line. He's gonna start budding the line. Yeah, this is not New York. You can't bud lines. So what are you gonna do? So he comes and he starts asking. So he starts asking until he gets to the front of the line. And he asks the person, please, do you mind? I have a flight to take right now. I'm going on the way to the airport. Do you mind if I just ask and I'm going to run? So the guy said, yeah, fine, go ahead. He comes, he gets the order. He runs out. He starts running out and he starts running. And all of a sudden, what happens? A big bang, right? A big boom, a bomb. A bomb was set off. Yeah. And obviously, you know the chaos.
That
Yeah.
was
Sparrows. That was the name. Sparrows. So what happened is that the guy starts going, he turns around and he wants to find out what's going on. Why? He realized that who should have been there in the store? He should have been there. And now who was there instead? The guy at the front of the line. He was there instead of him. The guy in the front of the line should have been out. He should have been there. So what happened? They didn't know what, he quickly went to the hospital. Yeah, because remember, Hatzala, you can't do anything. They close off the area, He quickly went to the hospital. He tried finding out, and he went and he found out, right, where the guy was, but the guy was unconscious. So he wrote a quick letter. Yeah, quickly he wrote a letter. Please give me a call. You should know that you saved my life, this and that. I really apologize, but I have to make a flight back to America. This is my phone number. Please, whenever you need me, call me up. Yeah, fine. And he leaves. Yeah, what happens is he tries to find out a little bit more about the guy, but it happened, I think it was a year later around, that all of a sudden he gets a phone call. Yeah, phone call. Who is it? This person. He wants to come to America. So he comes and he tells him, you should know, I can never thank you enough. He says, okay, I'm going to come and pick you up from the airport. And he goes to the airport. And when he gets to the airport to pick him up, he picks him up. He goes in the car. He starts driving. He turns on, and all the radio stations, they all turn to the same thing. What happened? September 11th. Yeah, September 11th, Twin Towers are knocked down. Who works in the Twin Towers?
Oh my God. These guy.
Yeah, the same exact person works in the Twin Towers. Said Rabbi Friend, the Hakarat Tov, the first time around, he was saved because of Hashem. Hashem saved him. But the second time around, he was saved because of Hakarat Tov. If he didn't have the Hakarat Tov, and he would have just told him, take an Uber, right? At the time, it didn't exist. But let's say, take an Uber, take a taxi. Yeah, come and meet me. He would have gone down in the Twin Towers. Because at the 8:30 in the morning over there, he would have been there in the Twin Towers. Oh. But because he had the Hakarat Tov, and he recognized that I owe this person my life, I owe him everything. And no matter what he's going to ask me, I'm going to do it. That's what actually saved him the second time around. And by the way, you should know that was just one beautiful story that I heard many years ago. Now that you have Rabbi Gold, you have all the 20 million stories, one after another, right? Demonstrating this yesod, this important thing. But you should know it's a secret of being a Jew. It's a secret of what it is, Hakarat Tov. Remember, the Egyptians wanted to bring, they want to put it inside of us, that we are not Hakarat Tov. We are Kfuyei Tova. But we have to recognize the opposite. We only recognize the good that people do to us. We thank you for everything that you do. We thank you for everything that happened. And that's why we actually come. We respect our parents, our grandparents, our brothers and sisters. Everything is always thank you, no matter what. Because the Hakarat Tov that people are going to do for us, we always have to say thank you and appreciate it. Bezrat Hashem, I just hope that there should be a good wake-up call. But Bezrat Hashem, that we should be able to continue growing in Torah and Yirat Shamayim.